Shalom, shalom, Akiyam. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash. I would also like to give a double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, where I learned this 144% truth. I would also like to say peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, starting with the 144,000 men of Israel, which consists of the servants, the prophets, whom have been ordained since the foundations of this earth to sing this new song, which comes in the form of this gospel, which would be preached throughout all four corners of this earth, and rest upon the heirs of the innumerable multitude, men, women, and children of Israel, who may be scattered throughout all four corners of this earth. It's just Bayan back again, through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. And I just wanted to get into a brief lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, and share this brief article with you, beloved Akiyam and Akwath, pretty much talking to the imminent downfall of Edom, the so-called white man, all right, which would come by the hands of his counterpart, which would be the Russians, which are also Edomites, but it would all be through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, ultimately ushering forth Edom, the so-called white man's fate. Okay, because contrary to popular belief, unbeknownst to the world, Edom, the so-called white man, has fallen from grace, man. And it's going to continue to intensify, reaching its climax in the kingdom of heaven upon the expiration of his captivity, where he would serve 1,000 years of captivity alongside the other heathen. All right, but his fate will end with him being a no people, pursuing the biblical prophecy. And that's what we're going to show you through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. All right, so before we do that, let's grab some of this article real quick. All right, this is from Natural News. It's dated June 26, 2000. I'm sorry, June 24th, 2025. And the title reads, Russian official warns multiple nations are ready to arm Iran with nukes after U.S. strikes. All right, and this shows you that ultimately at the end of the day, Evil E has lost his global status as far as the bully on the block. He's no longer as prestigious as he once was. All right, he lost his honor, all right, amongst these heathen nations, man. And this is why I mentioned earlier the fall from grace this man's experiencing, all right, which I looked it up. All right, when you look up this definition of fall from grace, right, under a noun, all right, it reads a loss of favor or a position of power or honor. Okay, some similar words: favor, approval, right, acceptance, regard. Look at respect. Okay. You see, this shows that prophecy reigns supreme, man. As we can read in Obadiah, where the Lord says what? Let's go grab that real fast, and we'll go back to the article. The book of Obadiah, chapter 1, the only chapter in verse 2, and it reads, Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised. Real quick, when you grab this word, small.
Strong's H, 6996. Catan, Catan, Gesenius Lexicon, Catan, Catan, second entry, Caton, Caton.
And as you can see, it goes into young, small, insignificant, unimportant, which would equate to Esau, Edom, the so-called white man's fall from grace. You see, and when we go back to this article, and we'll just read into it, we'll just read this one pressure point here. All right, Dmitry Medvedev warned that U.S., okay, look it. Dmitry Medvedev warned that U.S. airstrikes won't stop Iran's nuclear ambitions, claiming multiple nations are ready to supply Tehran with nuclear warheads, man. Why do you think this is? Because prophecy, okay, must be fulfilled. All right, and this is what Esau is trying to stop, and trying to stop those Persians from getting their hands on the nuclear weapons program, man. Okay, because one thing you gotta understand is Esau, he knows prophecy. You know, does he respect it? No. Does he know it? Yes. Okay, you have to know the truth to tell a lie. Okay, to be able to maneuver around an obstacle, you got to know it's there. You see, so Esau knows that prophecy is relevant. Okay, he just thinks he's wise enough, all right, to stop it. All right, that's why his goal is to stop those Ishmaelites, man, and to stop them Persians from being able to come into a position of thermonuclear ability. Okay, because he understands biblical prophecy, man. All right, they've combed through this Bible, man. All right, and in their ignorance, you know, they left it intact. Why? Because it was the will of Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai. You know, they brought forth their slave Bible, and you know, they added and took away. They've, you know, played on words. You know, but at the end of the day, the counsel of Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai stands, man. All right, and this is what we're witnessing. You see, Esau cannot avoid his fate. No matter how much he scratches and claws at the back door, man. All right, to try to escape, he ain't going nowhere. He's trapped. There's nowhere to run and there's nowhere to hide, man. His fate is sealed. And when you go to prophecy, when you go into the scriptures, when you go to prophecy, it tells us this. Now let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 14. I'm sorry. Yeah, chapter 14. Let's jump on down here. And let's start at verse 12. And it reads, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning?" What is this talking to? The global elite, okay, specifically. All right? They will be the Luciferians, which are the light bearers, quote unquote, the Illuminati, man. All right? The light bringers on the left-hand side. Okay? They're in heaven, being that what? They're in a position of power. They're in a position of sovereignty, man. They're in heaven, on earth. You see, there's 3 levels of heaven. Heaven on earth, all right, where you're ruling. You have control of the resources, the people, all right? You call the shots, all right? Then you have the heaven as far as where the constellations are, where the birds fly, okay? And you have the 3rd heaven, where our Heavenly Father and the angels dwell, okay? And where the only begotten Son is residing at this moment. You see? And where all spirits go back to. You see? 3 levels of heaven, man. This heaven is talking about this one on earth, where the rulers, all right, will be in a position of governance. You see? And it's saying, how art thou, and it reads, Isaiah 14:12, how art thou fallen from heaven? Right? How art thou fallen from power? Okay? O Lucifer, which is again talking to the light bearers, the global elite, those international banking families, man. Look at son of the morning. How art thou cut down to the ground? See Isaiah 47, right? Which didst weaken the nations. Okay, and they weakened the nations through their philosophy, all right, through their wayward philosophies, man, all right, through their monetary system. Okay, as we see the uh, the greenback, all right, is the world currency, all right, but that's about to change because everything's about to go digital. Who you think's gonna be leading that charge? Chief Ephraim? Yeah, you guessed it, Esau. All right, in the form of Babylon the Great. Okay, look, for thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of power. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation, which is talking to the Israelites, right, in the sides of the north, which is talking about over here in Babylon. All right, and that's exactly what he's done. All right, this is where the northern and southern kingdom, we will oppress together over here, man. All right, Judah and Ephraim, consisting of the 12 tribes of Israel, will oppress together, pursuant to Jeremiah. What's that? Is that 50 and 33 or 34? We will oppress together over here, man. You see that? And this man in his pride, he's documented intimate history of him persecuting us, man. All right, you can type in the lynchings in America, and you will see nothing but picture after picture after photo, man. You can go on Wikipedia and see all manners of atrocities and abominations he has done to us so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. But guess what? There's a penalty for that. All right, there's a debt that has to be paid for dealing treacherously with the people of the highest power conceivable, man. Let's continue on. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. And this is this proud, pompous, barbaric mindset that this dude holds. Because the spirit that's lifted up in him is not upright. All right, this is how he moves. This is how he's wired. But what is the end of this man? Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. What's this talking to? Captivity. All right, this is what this is talking to. You being brought down to hell is not talking about a place where you're going to burn forever. No. All right, this is talking about you going into the fetters, chains and fetters of iron. All right, you being subdued. Okay, you being brought low and having to face, all right, the righteous anger, all right, of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Continuing on, they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, right? That did shake kingdoms, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, all right, and various other countries that you've obliterated. And I'm only using that word because that's the word of the week. All right, ever since Trump sent those those several B-2 bombers, over to those 3 nuclear sites over in Iran, obliterated has been the word of the week. I'm not sure if you Akim and Aqua have noticed it. Obliterated. That's the word they're using. All right, because they're playing on words. This is what they do. It's an enchantment. All right, but yeah, man. All right, you're gonna be being looked upon like, is this him? This is him right here? No way. All right, this is how low the Lord's gonna bring you. All right, that 1,000-year captivity you're gonna reside in is gonna put you on a level beneath a Hamite. All right, and you know how Yahweh Bashim Yahushua feels about the Hamites. You see, look it, that made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof. Right, and this is it. Come on, man. All right, you've committed deforestation. All right, you've aggravated the ecosystem, completely disrupted the ways of life. All right, you've completely reconstructed the way life is supposed to be experienced. Due to your various industrial revolutions. All right, you've contaminated the oceans, polluted the air, and brought forth genetically modified organisms for food. All right, it's not going to be all good with you. You have a date with destiny, my boy. All right, and that's you being brought forth to the King of Terrors, man. And he's going to hold you by the hand, so ain't no where you going. Continuing on, all the kings of the nations, even all of them lie in glory, everyone in his own house. Okay, what's this talking to? When the 1,000-year captivity is complete, all right, all the other heathen nations are going to be able to have a piece of the pie, or what have you. All right, they're gonna have a place of rest. You see, they're gonna have a land where they're dwelling in peace and reaping the fruits of a paradise of a earth. But how about you? Let's continue on. But thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, and as the remnant of those that are slain, thrust through with a sword, that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden under feet. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, man. Okay, see? You will not have a resting place. Why? Because you're not going to be on the scene. And as a matter of fact, we're going to jump to what precept is that? I think that's Job 20, the triumphing of the wicked is sure. Yeah, we'll jump there after this and prove that. Let's read this again. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people. The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned, man. Okay? The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned, because ultimately your seed is going to be cut off. All right, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua is going to cut off son and nephew. Okay, there will be no one remaining in the house of Edom. Thus saith the Lord. Obadiah 1 and 18. And the phone chimed in, man. All right, now let's jump to the book of Job to substantiate this point. All right, the book of Job, chapter 20. In verse 4, and it reads, Knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed on earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment, right? And it's coming to an end. All right, the time of Esau winning is coming to an end. All right, how do we know? It's manifesting right before our eyes. All right, in the time in the 1950s, all right, this thing over there in Iran would have been disclosed. With Babylon's one swipe of the hand of Babylon, it would have been done for. It would have been over. The conflict would have been subdued, and there would have been no more issues. But again, Esau's fallen from grace. All right, prophecy's knocking on his door. All right, we're at the time of his demise. All right, this is why he can't stop or prevent the tensions that are going on in the Middle East, right, which is Western Asia. All right, this is the part of the story, all right, where Esau goes out like at the finale on the 4th of July. All right, let's continue on. Back in our Job 20 and 6, though his excellency mount up to the heavens and his head reach unto the clouds, right, proud bastard, right, and we read that in Isaiah 14. He said he'll be like the Most High, right? Yet he shall perish forever, like his own dung. They which have seen him shall say, where is he? Because he's not going to be there. As we read in Isaiah 14, he's not going to have a burial with the kings of the earth. See, Esau is going to be nowhere to be found. All right, and you have men of the likes of Will Camelon that would say, oh, the scriptures say that there's no end to all the people. Yeah, we'll find out what the Lord's going to do with the spirits in the kingdom. But one thing's for certain, as is written. All right, let's close out with this. Bear with me. You know what? It's in Deuteronomy. Salakia. The book of Deuteronomy. All right. Chapter 25 and verse 17. And it reads, remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way when you were come forth out of Egypt. Right? Amalek being who? The chief house of Edom. Those small hats. Okay, those gutter rats. How he met thee by the way and smote the hindmost of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee, when thou was faint and weary, and he feared not Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, right? So he was deleting the little ones, the old, and the feeble that were tarrying behind us. We were trying to escape out of Egypt. This is what this demon was doing, man. But guess what? The Lord seen you, man. All right, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai's eyes are 10,000 times brighter than the sun. He's seeing you, and guess what? This is a debt you still got to pay for, demon. Look at Deuteronomy 25 and 19. That's why the Lord said, remember Amalek. Look, therefore it shall be, when the Lord Yahweh thy power have given thee rest from all thine enemies round about, in the land which the Lord Yahweh thy power giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. Thou shalt not forget it. Edom's fall from grace is an unavoidable fate. Shalom.